Hi, and welcome to training and video number 2 for the Mark Slade Remote Observatory series in connecting to and operating our telescopes. And in this video, we're going to show how to connect to Station 2, which is our 12-inch LX200 optical tube assembly on a CGE Pro mount with telescope drive master and full complement of UV-BRI filters, photometric filters, and a star analyzer in a 7-position Generation 3 QHY filter wheel. The camera we are currently using on this telescope is a QHY 174M, and it is a field of view at f6, which the telescope runs at, of about 12 by 8 arc minutes. So it's a pretty small field of view. Nonetheless, the telescope seems to, for the most part, have no problem pointing to the targets, and most of the time it is on the chip. However, sometimes if it's not, plates often can be used. So, but that's the subject for another video. In this video, we're going to talk about how to just connect to the telescope. So let me go ahead and start sharing my screen here, and we'll go ahead and start with the connection process. So we use Type BNC and TeamViewer to connect to our telescopes. And when you are using the telescope, more than likely you'll be connecting with TeamViewer, so you'll need to download that on your computer. However, I'm going to connect currently with my setup here using Type BNC. So just realize that that is a slight difference that you'll have when you connect in. We will provide you with the password and computer ID so that you can successfully connect via TeamViewer here. Okay, so let's go ahead and connect to Station 2. And when you log in, this is the screen that you'll see. The telescope has a color webcam that aims out at the telescope when it's ready for observation. It will be on a pedestal that you can see here. And this is the 12-inch telescope in the home position. Notice that it's pointing at the North Celestial Pole. The settings for gain and exposure on this webcam do change, obviously, if it's day or night. So I usually have it set for you. When you log in, it'll be operating, and you shouldn't have any problem getting a good image of the telescope. And it's just a good way to see what the telescope's doing and how the status is on the observatory. The structure in the back that you see here on the left of center, that domed station, that's our Station 1. And then at the lower left part of our view here, you can see the roll-off roof, which is currently closed on Station 3. That currently has our either a 4-inch apochromatic refractor or an 8-inch RC, depending on what kind of observing we'll be doing. So, okay, so let's minimize this out, but this is running, the webcam runs under SharpCat. And so it's always accessible. At the bottom of the screen, there's the toolbar right down here, SharpCat. You just toggle on that and it'll bring up the camera. Okay, so let's go ahead and connect into the software. So to operate the 12-inch telescope, you want to go ahead and use Path Hub, which is this paddle on the left here. You will go down to Connect Scope. And when you click on that, it takes a few seconds, but you'll see the telescope numbers light up, which is a good sign, meaning that the Path Hub has talked to the telescope, which there it is. All right. And you can move the little hand paddles around however you want on the screen. That's okay. It's up to you, but they always seem to be always in the wrong spot. And on my home computer here, my resolution is a little bit smaller than the screen out in the observatory. So you're going to see me scrolling a little bit, but hopefully on your computer, you'll be able to see the whole screen at one time. Okay, so telescope is connected. We need to now do is connect the software, and we use MaximDL to run the telescope and the camera. Now, the camera is a cooled 174M, as I was mentioning. However, I have the cooler off right now, so when we connect to it, there won't be any cooler capability. But you go to the observatory icon here in MaximDL, and you'll see two buttons that say connect at the top here. One says telescope, one says focuser. You want to click on the telescope and you want to click on the focuser. However, the focuser power is off right now. So it's going to give us a message that says fail to connect, but that will not happen when you're connecting because the focuser power will be on at that point. But as it's daytime here right now, the telescope's in sort of sleep mode and some of the peripherals, USB peripherals are not operating, but they will be when you're observing. Okay, so you'll connect the telescope and the focuser, and then you need to connect the camera. And so the camera is the icon next to the observatory. It's this one right here. It says toggle camera control on off. Just click on that. And what will happen is the telescope camera control window will come up. And basically you just click the connect button and that will connect our camera. There we are. And then the cooler button down here, notice it says cooler on, off, and warm up. You just click the on button and the cooler will come on and cool the camera down to -20 centigrade. However, again, the cooler is not active right now. So you'll notice that the sensor temperature here will not be changing. It'll stay at the ambient temperature outdoors right now. Okay, so we have the POTH hub connected. We have the telescope connected to POTH. We have Maxim DL up and running, and the telescope and the focuser are connected. So the last thing we need to do now at this point is to connect the star chart, which we use this cart to seal. So you can click on that, and that'll open up. And we have to connect the telescope to cart to seal. To do that, go up to the telescope icon at the top here. Click on that, and the drop-down menu says Connect Telescope. Notice that there's the observatory with the little red dot next to it. That means we're not connected. So if you click Connect, it opens up our telescope connection window. And of course, our little hub is right in the way of the button we need to connect. So there's the Connect button there. Click on that, and all green bars light up, which means we are now tracking, and our telescope is now connected to the software. And now you can minimize that window and to get that out of the way. All right, so that's it. Our telescope is now connected and we are now ready to slew to our first target. So let's pretend our first target would be, let's say, maybe M13. Let's just see if we can get to M13 here. So you type it into the window at the top and it'll light up M13 in our software. And right now it looks like the azimuth is 93, so it's almost due east. Its altitude is 97 degrees, so that's doable. We should be able to see the scope move. So let's go ahead and slew over. So go over to the observatory icon where it shows you a picture of a little lightning bolt here. That's the slew. If you click on that, the telescope will now begin to slew, and you can see it moving. If we zoom in on this window here, we'll just kind of enlarge that so you can kind of see the telescope moving here. Going over to where M13 would be in our daytime sky. And it doesn't take long. The CGE mount moves pretty quick, as you can see. Okay, so now you are either on target, and if you go to the camera icon on Maxim DL, you go to the expose setting here, and we can begin taking pictures. Of course, it's daylight, so it's not going to work, but you set the exposure time by this seconds window here. You can set it to however many seconds. Typically 5 seconds is good enough to find out if you've got your target on the chip or not. And you can leave it on continuous if you want. That way it'll just keep cycling through 5-second exposure, and you click start and boom, you'll start seeing stars on your image, and hopefully you'll see this M13 star cluster. However, if you don't, you'll need to plate solve, and that is the subject of our future video on this station. We'll show you how to plate solve. So that's it. Let's go ahead and let me just show you now how to shut things down. So you want to go ahead when you're under camera control, you want to go back to setup and go ahead and cooler you can turn off and then disconnect the cameras. All right, and we will go over in much more detail how to take images in another video too, once you're on your target, how to focus the telescope, how to use the filters and all that. That will be covered in much more detail in a future video. I just wanted to cover connecting and maybe slewing to your target in this video here using Station 2. So, all right, we need to park the telescope. So to do that, you click the park button down here under POTH. And again, you'll see the scope moving. You can, if you want to enlarge the webcam, you can see the scope slowing back to its home position. And once it gets there, Hubble report that the scope is parked. And in this telescope, for some reason, there is a little bit of an anomaly, is that when it does reach its parked position, for some reason, the old park position is retained in the right ascension and declination display here. We are truly not at 0 degrees declination. Clearly, when you look at our telescope, you can see that we are at plus 90 declination here toward the north celestial pole. However, POTH display shows it as plus 90, or it shows it at 0 degrees. And for some reason, that used to be the old home park position, and I don't know why it's retaining that. It's a different mount than I was using at that point. And if you look at Cartesial, interestingly, if you go to track telescope, it will show the telescope that it thinks is parked at the celestial equator. That is wrong. It is not. So don't worry about that. All you have to do is just click disconnect the telescope. And when you wake the telescope back up again, when you go to connect telescope, because it's a GPS-enabled telescope, the display will, and the numbers will show the correct data for the telescope in terms of where it's at. And it just takes a second, that'll come up here. And you'll see how we are at the North Pole. So notice how it's, again, it says declination plus 90 and azimuth 0, that's correct. And if we go to track telescope, we have to connect the telescope again, of course, and in the software. And when we do connect it and we click on track telescope, it will show, as it should, that we are at the north celestial pole. So even though it's a bug in the system, this is the workaround that we use, and it works fine. The telescope can now be controlled. And there we go. That's our start position. So I don't know why. Maybe you could put in the comment section if you see this video and you know why this is happening. I would very much appreciate that information. Otherwise, this is our workaround. Okay, thank you so much for watching, and we'll be posting more videos in the near future on how to plate solve, focus, and use the UBVRI filters and the star analyzer filters that are with this telescope.